Welcome to episode 14 of Literally Speaking All Things AIS, the official podcast of Augusta Independent School District. I'm Tim Literal, and I'm excited you're joining us today. We'll start with a few quick updates from around the district, and then we'll continue our conversation with Alison Bach before moving on to our AIS Spotlight and wrapping up with our In the Loop segment. We'll begin with AISD Headlines, a segment to share important district news and celebrate accomplishments. Graduation has been set for 2026. The ceremony will be held on Friday, May 22nd at 7 o'clock in the historic Augusta Gymnasium. Retired Augusta Independent teacher Millie Bush will serve as the guest speaker. Preschool screenings are coming up for next year. Children who are possibly eligible for preschool at Augusta Independent must be 3 or 4 years old before August 1st, 2026. The screening is the first step in getting your child into preschool and takes 30 to 45 minutes. The screener focuses on large, fine motor skills, concepts, and speech-language skills. During the screening, parents must fill out a questionnaire on your child, so at least one parent or guardian must be present. Screening dates are scheduled for May 19th and May 20th. Please contact Augusta Independent School at 606-756-2105 to schedule an appointment. Work on the site of the new multi-purpose educational gymnasium facility addition has progressed. Some site utility work was completed over spring break with coordination with the City of Augusta, while other utility work is underway or planned. On April 9th, the boiler building was demolished. The construction company's job trailer has also been moved onto the property. In the coming weeks, the land will continue to be prepared for foundation and construction work. Congratulations to Mia Roop on her essay being selected as the Kentucky Retired Teachers Association state winner of the AARP Grandparent of the Year essay contest. She represented Augusta Independent Schools, Bracken County Local Retired Teachers Association, and the Northern Kentucky District of the Retired Teachers Association. She will be presented her award at the state meeting in April. Today, we're picking back up with part 2 of our interview with Mrs. Bach. AI, a big term that is flashed around a lot now. Given the rise of AI, and you kind of alluded to it, personalized learning, how has your definition of good instruction sort of changed in the last few years? Or maybe it's not changed, but the way that it looks is different.
And, like we said in the previous question, I've been here kind of through the evolution of how we've integrated technology into our classrooms. And I'll never forget when we had a training and someone came to just talk about Google and the Google for Education realm and Chromebooks. And a teacher raised their hand and kind of said, well, I don't like the Chromebooks because I could give them a worksheet and then they can just search up the answer. And that teacher was then challenged and said, well, if you're giving your students questions that can be answered by looking up the answer, then instead you need to change the assignment. So that's kind of where we are with AI right now. I see it as more as a teacher best friend tool. When I was in the classroom here, especially, I was the only 4th grade teacher. I was the only intermediate math teacher. I didn't have a planning buddy to sit down with. So the ways that you can prompt AI to help you think. Sometimes I've sat down and just said, hey, even with my own son, hey, my son needs to help spelling his spelling words and he really likes basketball. Can you help me create a game that would help him study? He really likes basketball, make it basketball themed. And I actually learned that just a couple weeks ago. And so I typed that prompt in and it spit out the code for a game because I was out of town and my sister-in-law has never studied spelling words with a child before. So it helped me create a tool that I could use not just with my son, but I came back and I taught his teacher, hey, because she was having trouble and hearing from parents, I don't know how to help my kids study. So what we've done with teachers, like the 2nd grade teacher this week created a Google site where she took her spelling words and put it in Gemini and had it create themed spelling games where it not only teaches them, but there's also a test mode where they can try that out. And when I checked with her earlier, she noted a very improved test scores because it gave not only her, but the parents another tool to help personalize that learning. At the same time, the 4th grade teacher, now he needed some help. His students were struggling with a concept and he kind of needed just this other way to get practice in that was not just a repeated worksheet. So we sat down and Google Gemini coded a game for him that he was able to give to his students, and it made it fun. It wasn't the same, worksheet, or it wasn't the same task. The way that it can help you create and find resources that would have taken me in the classroom hours of research to do. And we talked about the way that technology can meet all learners. One population of students that I feel like are not, I don't want to say easily forgotten, but we try to meet every student's individual needs. And when you have students who are gifted or who have already mastered a concept in the classroom, oh, they've already got it, let's focus on the ones who don't have it yet. But yet we still need to be meeting the needs of those students with, higher abilities or gifted or who have already mastered concepts. So you can take your lessons and plug it into AI and have it create some project-based learning experiences, help you create rubrics for your classes, and really enrich the learning to the next level to help meet all those needs. So I love AI. I use it every day. People think that it's, you hear from writing teachers, oh, it's, ruining the way that the writing process works. But if you were to take a student who needed help writing a paper, no one would think it was cheating if they were to go to a writing tutor and sit down and say, I don't know where to start. And that writing tutor will be like, okay, well, here's the prompt. What's your questions? But once again, that takes time and that takes a person. And, a lot of schools are in the same boat we are with a limited number of support staff. But no one would think that was cheating to get help from a person. So using AI to write a paper, of course, if you're just having it spit back something that's different. But if a student could sit down and that AI tool could be said, act as a writing tutor to this student who's having help, I mean, that AI can have that conversation. Where do you think you need to start? What topic do you want to write about? Okay, well, let's come up with a topic sentence. So if sitting down with a writing tutor isn't cheating, then using AI as a tool for that individualized support isn't cheating either, in my opinion. It's all about, like you said, the intentionality of how is this tool going to be used to help meet the needs of my students.
This year we've implemented 2 key instructional tools. They do have a technology, I believe, rule in both to them as well, actually. But Amplify for our elementary reading and math. I believe it's the first time we've had an instructional resource this robust. You taught 4th grade without programs like these. Now you've seen them from the implementation side, obviously been a key person who has helped the teachers implement these resources. Describe the Amplify programs and the value they bring to our classrooms.
Yes. They are very valuable. I feel like this was a missing piece that just as a district and as an administrator, we hadn't been able to provide in the last couple years. Back in, I believe, 2024, a piece of legislation passed where it was mandating by a certain date, districts had to choose here's this acronym again, HQIR, High Qualified Instructional Resource. And all that basically means is that these resources have been vetted to meet all of the state standards to the rigor that they will be assessed. Research shows that teacher pulled materials, when we're finding things off of the internet, they might look pretty, but do they really push the students to the rigor that they're expected to be in our state standard? So that's kind of where we were in the classroom with the old curriculum. Luckily for me, I had taught for several years, so I had, weeded through the standards. I knew where my students need to be, and if the resource didn't meet where I needed it to be, then I could supplement. But that took a lot of time. And when the last couple years before we had this resource, when I had a new teacher come in, and I felt honestly bad if I was like, here's the curriculum. It's going to give you a little bit, but in order for it to really meet the needs of all your students, you're going to have to do a whole lot of supplemental finding resources of your own. And that takes a lot of time that teachers could be spending analyzing data or planning small group instruction. So Amplify, we actually, not just elementary, we have Amplify both CKLA, that's our reading program, and Desmos Math through the 8th grade. And I've heard a lot of great feedback from teachers. Our teachers, I'm so proud of the intellectual preparation that they have put into implementing this new resource. While it is a complete packaged curriculum, it's not like we are just saying, here you go, teachers, here you have it, read from a script. Our teachers are going in through their units. They are looking at what standards they are teaching, at what teaching strategies they could implement. So instead of spending hours every day finding lessons that meet the appropriate difficulty, meet all the standards, they can take that time to dive into the resources that they have and spend that time, how am I going to meet all my needs? Our teachers have spent a lot of just work looking deep into both the reading and math material. I hear it from the kids. My own two are in 2nd grade, and this week I know that they're learning about the Civil War and slavery, and they are making those connections to what they're learning and our lives outside in ways that they haven't in years past. So not only am I seeing them reach greater heights and master more concepts, but the engagement in their learning is also there. With our HQIR, going back to the whole technology and people thinking that kids spend too much time on their Chromebooks, what I really liked about the Amplify programs is that they can be completely done, pencil and paper, workbooks and worksheets, or they can be completely online. And I have teachers who some of them like a mix, some of them like all pencil paper, some of them are completely digital. So even though it's the same program and it's the same routine, year to year they're not getting the exact same cut, copy, and paste experience that you might think they are.
Lastly, I want to touch on the drama program. Talk about that program and the impact that you've seen that it's had on students.
Absolutely. I'll give a huge shout out to Colleen Taylor. She was the one who wanted to start bringing it back, and when she taught high school English, she started bringing it back without me because of my involvement with drama productions and community theater. She heard that I had a little bit of theater background, so she asked me if I would help, and now I'm running that. I'm still glad that this position allows me to do that. You know, there's so much. When people think extracurricular, they go straight to sports. And we do meet the needs athletically around here at Augusta for our students. But one thing was lacking was the arts. What I've seen happen at Augusta is our kids are more confident standing in front of their peers. In the beginning, we would prepare for a show, and they would not want to perform it in front of the high school peers. They were fine with middle and elementary, but it takes a huge amount of confidence to step in front of your peers and put yourself out there. So my group of kids that I have, not all of them are outspoken in the classroom. Some of them are the quiet ones, and when teachers see them up on stage completely embodying a character, they're like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought that student would be up there, speaking in front of everybody else. I've seen students expand their friend groups. One of my students, he had an IEP. He was on the autism spectrum. He would have trouble getting his thoughts out in the classroom. So to see him flourish on stage, my gosh, you want to talk about meeting IEP goals? It completely changed him. It's given students who weren't involved in extracurriculars before a place to kind of be, to have their voice heard. And it definitely met a need that wasn't here at Augusta. It gives those students another outlet for their creativity.
Yeah, you mentioned public speaking, and obviously there's drama is much more than just a basic public speaking, but we've identified that as a need here that we want to address. I think we're certainly starting that. We've not talked a lot about it even on here, but we've mentioned in some previous podcast episodes of our implementation of our Portrait of a Panther program where, we're trying to start providing structured experiences for public speaking for students. We have the Amazing Shake program, which, again, provides that speaking and socialization aspect. So obviously drama, I think, is another piece of that. It goes a step further because I think it's one thing even to give a speech. It's another thing to perform. But I think maybe another goal that we would hope is that with our emphasis on trying to get more public speaking in the younger grades, even then they'll feel even more comfortable stepping maybe even into the drama realm.
Absolutely.
And they all tie together.
Absolutely. This morning I was in Mr. Kelch's office and someone asked him what was, in his opinion, what was like his biggest accomplishment in education. And, he talked a little bit about when he was in school at Augusta, how, like, the connotation, like, it was very negative. Like, oh, you're from Augusta. Like, oh, like, you're not going to make it. Like, you can't have as good of a job as somebody who came from a different region. And, he has been integral in changing that perception of Augusta. And I think, like you said, with public speaking and just growing these kids' confidence, it's not that, oh, you came from Augusta. I came from Augusta, and I can do great things. Like you said, it's not just memorizing lines. It takes a whole lot of confidence to get up there and perform and to sell it. And when I first started the drama program, I had done work with the Maysville Players, and every summer they had a youth production. But I couldn't get my kids from Augusta to go to Maysville. They still had that perception of like, oh, that's Maysville Players. I can't be in their children's theater. And, it took a couple years to get them to understand, no, we have just as great of performers and actors here at our school as they do at other schools. You can go out there. So I've seen more of my students get involved with theater in Maysville with their children's productions, and the Appalachian Creative Theatrical Society. They do a lot of plays here in Augusta. I've had several of my performers be in their youth productions, and just because kids a little quieter doesn't mean that they can't be loud one day. They just have to believe in themselves and believe that they can get to that next level. We have very bright kids here, but they really have to believe that they can succeed. They can do big things. They can do the hard things. Their voice matters just as much as anybody that comes from a bigger school. So drama and all the little extracurricular things and getting that Portrait of a Panther going where we're emphasizing community service and standing up for yourself, using your voice, being a confident speaker. That all is important for the jobs that they'll get one day. We've heard from people, not just in mock interviews, but community leaders, community partners who have students apply for their jobs. And just making eye contact when they introduce themselves. That's a big skill, even though it seems small, but it's a big skill that leaves an impression. That all goes back to that just culture of wanting our students here at Augusta to know that they can do anything. It doesn't matter where they came from. It doesn't matter if they're a first-generation college student, that their future is just as bright as if they were in a bigger school in a city as just here in little old Augusta.
Well, Ms. Bach, we appreciate your work, obviously with the drama program, but even more so with the instructional piece and trying to continue to elevate our school and our district, and we appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Literal. And I'll say one thing. I remember when you came back from the KISTI conference with this small little microphone, and you're like, you're with technology, make it be, you can use this. And I said, Mr. Little, this would be great for a podcast. And now we have all this fancy equipment in front of us, the way that you've grown our technology department in our school, too. Thank you for your role in that.
Well, thank you. Now it's time for our AIS Spotlight. Did you know that Augusta Independent does accept non-resident students? If you are interested in sending your child to Augusta, but you don't live within the district limits, you can start the application process by visiting www.augusta.kyschools.us/welcome center. On the right side, click on the non-resident application. Spots may be limited due to class sizes. Once again, you can visit www.augusta.kyschools.us/welcome center. Parents can contact the board office at 606-756-2545 with any questions. Before we wrap up, it's time to keep you in the loop. The middle school spring semifinal dance will be tomorrow, April 18th from 7 until 9 p.m. The science fair for students in grades 4th, 7th, and 10th will be held April 21st. MCTC will have on-site registration for dual credit students on April 23rd. Finally, the Augusta Prom will be held on May 2nd. That's it for today. We appreciate Alison Bach for joining us. New episodes drop on the first and third Friday of each month, so we'll be back on May 1st with episode 15. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I'm Tim Literal, and this has been Literally Speaking All Things AIS. Until next time, stay connected, stay learning, and stay Panther proud.